All right, welcome back. Hey, I was starting to do the underneath, and I didn't record it because at first it was just I was gonna do one little thing, and I didn't think too much of it. And then I got caught up with it because as I was sanding that rocker panel, I noticed that there was a pinhole in it, and at first I thought it was one of those drain hole pinholes. But it wasn't. What it was the metal was thin. So I ended up cutting out a piece. Right now, I've already got the piece in there. I just sprayed some stuff in there, but let me show you the piece that I cut out. And then it was kind of a step-by-step thing. I was going to do one, then do another. Where are we at? Okay, here it is. All right, so first off, let me get this piece. This was the original piece, and initially I was sanding, and I had something like this, very small, maybe even smaller than that. And what I did was I was pushing on it. I was like, that feels weak. So I jammed a scribe through it, and it went right through. And then I took a screwdriver and started jamming a screwdriver through it. And you can see, you can't see this on the backside when you're in it because it's inside the rocker panel. But I thought cutting this big of a chunk out would be enough. So what I did was cut this chunk out, and I started to weld this in. And as I'm doing it, I'm blowing it out right on the edges, which told me that it was still rusty. So I started to cut another chunk out, and it just turned into a freaking mess. Really what I did was, because I couldn't see the inside, I wasn't sure what I was doing. So what I did, this big piece is ultimately what I ended up cutting out, and then I put a solid piece of metal in it instead of one piece, then two piece. Because originally it was just supposed to be this piece. And as I'm welding and tack welding, it was blowing it out. So, long story short, I found a problem I didn't even know I had. Started to cut it out. Tried to add it again, and then I slept on it and said, you know, I'm going to just cut the whole damn thing out and put a new piece in, a whole piece of good metal, in, which is what's in there right now. So I was under there, and then while this is drying, in the effort of continuing with the underneath and refurbing it, I just took off my drive shaft. And because I changed out the speedometer gear, and all my fluid had pretty much leaked out, or at least the fluid up to the level I needed. I didn't have any fluid come out when I pulled this out, which was a good thing. I'm going to clean this up, sand this down, clean it all up, and then spray it. And then I'll end up getting back down underneath there and going over all the seams from the new floor pan, and then tying up, like I said, where the floor pans came on the side by the rocker panel. I have the holes punched. I just haven't rosette welded them. So I'll end up rosette welding those, and then cleaning up all the seams, and then knocking off the rust and dirt and what have you. And when that's done, that's when I will put some of that on it, rust encapsulator, and tie it all in from the bottom. Then once the rust encapsulator is done, I'll probably find some kind of an undercoating or something to go over top of that. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely putting that rust encapsulator on. All right, guys. Let me get back to cleaning this up. I'm going to sand it down and then paint it. And I'll bring you back in later. Later. What a mess. So I'm painting. I sanded down. I started painting this drive shaft with Rust Encapsulator Plus. And it started spraying, overspray, and it's not like normal paint. It gets down there and turns into a mess. So now I'm down here cleaning this stuff with brake cleaner. And it makes it to where you can clean it up, but it's not as easy as what you think it would be. You spray it on here, and it will come up like this, but then as soon as it dries, whatever's left over, because it's half in the rag, you got to do it again. So it's like I'm going to go through about 2 cans of brake cleaner just to clean up an overspray mess, and it really wasn't even, you couldn't even see it. Well, maybe you could a little bit, but you felt it when you walked on it. And as soon as I sprayed this brake cleaner on it, it just turned into like a big water painting. Look at that. Crap is everywhere. Ah, what a mess. Well, you know, I should have just painted it outside, except for the wind's blowing and there's bugs. All right, guys, I'm going to have to clean this mess up because it is what it is. All right, so I got back underneath the car, and what's that saying? Don't shake the tree if you're not willing to catch what falls out. Well, let me get under here. So I got under here and I was tapping on the frame rail, and you can see it's thin right here. It's got some rust falling out. Peeling rust is kind of satisfying. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I don't want rust on my car, obviously, but peeling this stuff off and watching it fall, it's kind of satisfying. But anyway, and then I was poking and I was hitting it with a hammer and I knocked it through here. So I'm gonna put subframe connectors on here. And I believe the ones I'm going to go with are, is it Global Midwest, I think, or Global West? But they wrap right about here. But I don't want to wrap over top of that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to order the subframe connector and then kind of mock it up to find out exactly where it's going to go and how it pulls up, because from what I understand, it pulls up tight. And I'm trying to determine whether, because originally what I was going to do is I was just going to cut a square or like a rectangle square or whatever out, paint it with rust encapsulator inside, and then I was going to take a plate and basically go along this whole underside and then tie it in on the corners. So it'd be a nice looking clean plate. And then I'd do it on the other side, even if there was no hole. I'd just do it just for some symmetry reasons. But what I don't want to do is put the plate on here and then screw up the subframe connector. But I think I can get away with it. I think as long as it's one big piece and it's uniform, and we're really talking, what, 16 gauge metal, I believe it is what I want to put on there. I think we'll be fine. And I'll do it on the other side as well. We'll be fine. But yeah, that's kind of, you know what, it's just the more you rattle stuff, the more. So I was under here and scrubbing up what rust I have under here, which is some. And then I'm tapping in the ends, and then I'm going to go ahead and once I get all the rust knocked down, seal up the seams, and then I keep seeing rust in there. I just want to grab it. seal up the seams, and then rust encapsulate over the whole thing. But I think what I'm going to end up doing with this, the more I'm thinking about it now, is I'm just going to cut out patches, or cut out, I don't know. I don't like it looking like this. In fact, before I was even thinking about, so I was thinking the subframe connector would stop here, but when I looked at it even further, I think it wraps just around the corner, right on the 90 of the bend. What I was thinking about doing was leaving this, cutting a plate, cutting this out, making it nice and clean, and then leaving an opening to where crap that comes in just rolls right on out instead of getting stuck. Because the way it is now, you're looking at the back of the car that way, not to insult anyone's intelligence, but when I'm upside down and spinning the camera around, I don't want to get anybody disoriented, but when stuff, water and everything starts coming through here and road grime, what happens is, and this is a factory hole, what happens is it gets stuck and then it just hangs out in here. Water, grime, dirt, rocks, whatever. It just seems like a kind of a crappy design. But what I was going to do is I was going to leave basically an escape hatch on the back. But now with the subframe connectors, I got to find out exactly where they, when I get them, I'm thinking it's probably just in, well, yeah, let me get them first, but I'm thinking it's just in front of that brake line. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. We're cleaning the bottom of the car. This is my rear brake line and one of my fuel lines. I finally got it taken off. Got my drive shaft sitting there. We're all ready to roll now. Not even close. But yeah, that's where we're gonna pick back up. I'm gonna vacuum this up. I keep that vacuum out in that little whisk just so I can keep the ground clean, and when I'm rolling on it, I don't track it all over the place. Because trust me, there's a lot with the wire wheel going. I'm using that wire wheel to clean up all the surface rust. There's dust and everything flying all over the place. But you know, hindsight's 20/20. Sometimes it's even better than 20/20. But as much time as I'm spending or gonna spend cleaning this whole floor pan, I probably would have been better off buying a full floor pan, spend the extra time putting in a full floor pan, because I think the time's gonna equal itself out in the end or come pretty close. But we are where we're at, and it's kind of a lesson learned. But and it's a slippery slope too, because like I said, I just wanted to make it solid, get it up and running, driving, and that still is my intent and still is my goal. But every time I dig into something, I see something that's just not quite right. There's some things that you can patch up and just continue to move on and say, all right, this is it. And then there's some stuff that just like, do you turn the blind eye to it, just kind of put a patch over and look away, or do you fix it? And I'm probably more apt to try to fix it than just to turn away and look away from it, just because if I know it's there, it's going to drive me nuts. But it is what it is. We're getting there. So if I ever get my dream car, whatever that, and I have to go through this, I'm gonna try to do it the right way. Not that there ever is a right way, but I would probably want to make it, who knows. Maybe it's just a little bit of frustration seeing that rust hole in there. But all right, guys, let me let you go, and I'll get right back to it. Later. had to wear my little dog down a little bit. He sits in the house on the back living room, and we kind of have it blocked off so he can't run the whole house right now. I mean, he can get out if he wanted to, but we just kind of, but I bring him outside, wear some of his energy up. He's only 4 months old, so he got some pinned up energy at times. So I took him for a walk, and I came home and I was wrestling around with him, or actually playing with the rope. He loves that rope. But so this right here are what I made, or they're 16 gauge steel. I didn't do the outside of it. I just painted the inside with the what do you call it, weld through primer. So I got one semi tacked in, and I was kind of holding it up, but I'm gonna continue around and then push this up, and then what I'll do is I'll take the grinder and just grind it flush, because it sticks out a little bit right there, but that's fine. My main concern was covering up the here, let me back up. Before I put this on, I sanded it down, cut it up, and then I put rust, what was that crap called by Rust-Oleum? It kills rust. Rust converter. Put rust converter on it, sprayed rust converter on the inside of the frame rail. And then on the back side of this plate, I put the weld through primer, and then I just started tack welding it, and it wasn't sticking a lot to the frame because of the paint that I had put on there. So I got to turn up the heat a little bit on my welder. But this is 16 gauge. It's set up for 16 gauge right now. It's just was having a hard time getting into the frame. But I'm gonna push this up, tack it, and then what I'll do is I'll probably drill a hole here, and then, like I said, the frame connector, subframe connector that will be coming in, we're sitting right, sit right on this corner. So right below this little brake line, it's going to sit right there. So I got to remove that brake line bracket for the subframe connector. Then I'll go through it, I'll continue welding it, and then I'll polish it up, and spray it again with rust encapsulator prior to putting on the frame subframe connectors. But before that, I'm going to have to clean up this hole right where it goes, because I don't want to put a subframe connector over top of something I haven't even prepped yet. I'm just getting it all ready. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just doing this side, and then after this side, I'll go over to the get that light out of the way. There you go. Go over to the passenger side. Passenger side looks a lot better. I'll tap on it again with the hammer once I get over there just to make sure, but it seems to be better than this side was. But yeah, so let me get back to welding. I gotta turn the heat up a little bit on that welder. I just want to get it kind of tacked in. Then, like I said, I'll go through it and grind it and get it all pretty before I go over it with rust encapsulator. But all right, guys. All right, I got the thing all welded in, ground down, and I laid a bead of fiberglass around the edges to seal it in from rusting. As soon as this dries, I'll sand it all down, and then coat it with some rust encapsulator, so that when the frame, subframe connectors go on, they're all good to go. I didn't have to take that off yet, but I believe I'm gonna have to take it off with the subframe connector, because the subframe connector is gonna come around here, and then the ones I have, you'll have to sand this down, and then it'll weld on both sides, and it will come up flush with this. So yeah, it looks I got a little extra on here. This will all get sanded back off. I was wiping my finger and I just wiped it across the metal. But no harm, no foul. Pull that off. But yeah, so far it turned out all right. Let me get it sanded. I gotta let it dry, and then I'll sand it down and paint it. All right, man. Let's go at this in a little bit. I'm gonna go grab something to eat and then we'll come right back. Later. All right, I got the driver's side done. Turned out all right. So that whole skid plate right here, it's kind of like a skid plate, but basically just capped it, reinforced the existing frame rail. And then on the driver's side, I'm in the midst of tacking it right now. The driver's side was fine. I tapped on it, even sanded it down, and that driver's rail was solid. But in the spirit of keeping symmetry, I went ahead and I'm putting a cap on it just so that it's equal, because I'm going to have frame rails on it too. So I just want it to look the same on both sides. Yeah. So it was a little trick. I'm sure a lot of guys do something, and it's probably something similar to this, but I just took a welding rod and welded it to the plate because I really had nothing to ground to. But right now I'm tacking them, and then I'll go along and go get the rest of the way. And you can see right here, I don't know how well it looks on the camera, but right here I ground it. I haven't welded this side yet. I tacked it up on top, but I haven't welded here. But I just kind of ground it to run it flush with the, actually cambering with the frame rail. Because the frame rail, it goes like this, and then it goes back narrower as you go back. That's why you see it wider up here than in the back. So I'm just took the grinder and shaved it off. So I'll run the beads down there. But it's coming along. I tell you, here in the Midwest, the 0 degree temperatures, -2 with the heater in here, it made it nice. It kept it at around 60 some degrees. But now that it's summer and I don't have air conditioning in here, it's amazing what a little bit of temperature will do. So right now it's 75 degrees in here. It's probably 80 outside. And I didn't put a fan on because of all the grinding, the dust. I just don't want to turn it into a big dust storm. But I favor the colder weather working on the car in a garage. If you're doing it outside, obviously, then you deal with the heat. But right now we got a lot of bugs, and that's why I haven't even got the doors open. There's bugs everywhere. I'm sure a lot of you guys are dealing with the same thing. But all right, let me let you go, and then I'm going to go back and try to finish off the passenger side. And then after I get the passenger side done, I'm going to start continuing cleaning, because initially I was just cleaning the underneath and getting the rust up and wire wheeling it. And then when I ran across that frame rail, being a little tender, I just wanted to reinforce it, and then obviously do the other side as well. Yeah, let me finish this up and then I'll get to cleaning. All right, we're back at it. Finished the second side of the frame rail. I think I'm going to divide this cleaning thing up to 2 because it was unexpected. But so here's the passenger side, and then there's the driver's side. I already started like cleaning and throwing rust what do you call it, rust reformer on it. And then on the back, I already started cleaning and knocking down all the rust. And then I put rust reformer on that. And then once the rust reformer, I'm not complete, obviously. I gotta still do the axle, these sway bar rods, and then I gotta continue on down. But once I go through it, and I'm not an expert on this, but I guess the rust reformer actually reforms the rust, and then the encapsulator encapsulates it, keeps the oxygen out of it from spreading. So my thought, and I could be wrong, but my thought process on some of this rust is I put the rust reformer on, and it's a spray, and I can get it in and it reforms what rust there is after I knock down most of that rust, and then scuff it up, go over it with rust encapsulator. So hopefully, thought process is it will stop the rust, and then I'll go over it and encapsulate it and keep out the oxygen and what have you, moisture, from it continuing to rust. But we'll see. Somebody might tell me I'm wrong, somebody might say something different, but at least that's how my little brain's thinking right now. Other than that, it's coming along. It's a dirty job, and I'm getting underneath the car. That's why the rotisserie would be so nice, just to flip it on its side. But getting underneath the car and having the stuff just fall on you is probably the worst part. And because I've got the car so lifted off the ground, and I'm not going to lower it because I like it lifted like this for right now. I have to reach, and good thing I got long arms, but it's an extended reach. So one thing not related to this car, I was looking on Marketplace and I found a 65 Mustang that was kind of clapped out a little bit. Body panels were straight, all the glass was in it. 289 was froze, and it's relatively cheap. So I was thinking, hey, you know, I want the 65 Mustang's a cool looking Mustang. Those mid 60s, up 69, even 70 in some, but I like up to 69. But I was like, I'll get that, but I don't want it to detract from my Trans Am, because I want to get my Trans Am up. And but I figured if I got it and put it off to the side, that could be my next project. I emailed the person, and they, you know, there were some things that they got 2 Mustangs up for sale, but the way they came back at me, it just seemed like, they really want to sell it. So I don't know what I'm doing right now. I kind of just said, all right, thanks, and left it at that. I just want to know what I'm in for before I make the drive, because it's about an hour drive away from me, and I don't want to drive up there just to find out it's more clapped out than what I think it is. I mean, I already anticipating changing out floor pans and some other things, but frame rails are all rotted or whatever. I don't want to go down that road right now, especially for just a little bit more. You could probably find something that ain't so rotted out. Go out to Southern California or Arizona area. Be in the Midwest, you're guaranteed to find cars that are rotted. But anyway, that's where I'm gonna leave this video, and then I'm gonna pick up with continuing the underneath, because the underneath is gonna be, like I said, a little bit more to it. All right, thanks for watching. I'll pick back up with the next video where I'm at.